Warning, this video will contain spoilers and information from Dragon Ball Daima. So, if you wanted to watch that first, I suggest you do. Thank you. Universes and the deities found in them were a large revelation for Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Daima. We learned characters who we've known since the beginning have had knowledge about these things and decided never to mention them. But now, after these two series, we know that there are 11 other universes out there aside from the one that we've been following since the original Dragon Ball. And in each universe, they are fitted with their own unique mortal races, their own unique god of destruction, their own unique angel, and their own unique Supreme Kai. Well, that's almost always the case. See, Universe 7 is one of the only universes that has broken the rules pertaining to the number of deities they have. I'm Toasted Mushroom, and you're watching Toasted Mushroom, so if you like what I do, please give a like, comment, and subscribe. And let's find out why Universe 7 has more Supreme Kais than the other universes. For those of you who may not know the lore of Dragon Ball, we should discuss a couple of things that you would need to know so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Much like our Earth's religions, there is a hierarchy to the beings in the Dragon Ball story. There are mortals at the bottom, like humans and Saiyans, planetary guardians, like Kami, Kais, like King Kai, Supreme Kais, like Shin or Gowasu, angels, like Whis, gods of destruction, like Beerus and Champa, and so on. Once you go above these, you get into the multiversal beings. And there are other unique cases outside of this hierarchy, like the demon realm, but we won't really get into that this video. The main beings we're going to discuss today are the Kais, also known as the core people, also known as Glins. So even some of you who are familiar with Dragon Ball may not know that the name Kai does not relate to the race, but rather the occupation. The race itself was originally called the core people, but as of Dragon Ball Daima, we now know that they are a race of strong demons from the second demon world called Glins. The reason they were called core people is because they come from the core of fruits that grow from 5 Glin trees in the second demon world. Once they grow up, they study in order to one day become a Kai for a universe. Rarely, there is a golden fruit that grows from the tree, and the being that emerges from that fruit becomes a Supreme Kai. They live thousands of times longer and are much stronger than the normal Glind, making them perfect for the job of Supreme Kai. Their job is to foresee the development of different planets in the various universes. They're given time rings, which are able to travel to the future, in order to view the progress of a certain species. They check to see if the development is how they want, and then direct gods of destruction to the ones that will not succeed based on their parameters. Basically, Supreme Kais are the ones who seed planets with life in order for them to develop into strong and capable races. They direct the gods of destruction to get rid of the ones that will not develop in that way. The link between Supreme Kai and the god of destruction is one that is not only highlighted in the show, but is essential to the two types of gods in this universe. The Supreme Kai and the god of destruction are so intertwined with each other that their lives are linked. That means if you were to kill a Supreme Kai, the god of destruction for that universe would die as well. And if you were to kill the god of destruction, which is much harder by the way, you would kill the Supreme Kai. The reason for this link is completely unknown, but it is super important because every universe only has one god of destruction. Conversely, each universe should only have one Supreme Kai as well. So what the hell is going on with Universe 7? We see during the Buu arc of Dragon Ball Z that Universe 7 has not one Supreme Kai, not 2 Supreme Kais, but 5 Supreme Kais at the same time. 1 Grand Supreme Kai and 4 Directional Supreme Kais. East, West, South, and North. This all takes place thousands of years before the story of Dragon Ball even begins. At the time of the actual Dragon Ball story, Universe 7 has been whittled down to 1 Supreme Kai. The Supreme Kai formerly known as Nahare, now known as Shin, who was the East Supreme Kai in the past. After Majin Buu was moved to the outside universe from the demon realm and activated by Bibidi, the 5 Supreme Kai fought him one at a time and subsequently lost their lives. Majin Buu, basically being a bubblegum monster, has the ability to absorb fighters and gain their strength on top of his own. He did so with the Southern Supreme Kai, and then afterwards absorbed the Grand Supreme Kai. This action completely transformed Buu, changing his nature from chaotic evil to more of a chaotic neutral. But that's not what we're really here to discuss. Why were there so many Supreme Kais in Universe 7? Well, I propose that the reason there were so many is the same reason there were 2 in Universe 10. In Dragon Ball Super, we see that Universe 10 has 2 active Supreme Kais at the same time, Gowasu and Zamasu. Gowasu, being the older Supreme Kai, mentors and trains Zamasu in order to prepare him for the job of becoming an official Supreme Kai. This process involves looking into the future for civilizations and brewing delicious tea. So, in the same vein, I believe that the Grand Supreme Kai was teaching the other 4 Supreme Kais how to do the job that they would be destined to do in the future. This would imply that the Grand Supreme Kai was one of the oldest in the universe because he was mentoring 4 at the same time. That's very interesting because in Dragon Ball Daima, we find out that all the Glins who escape from the Demon Realm are all the Glins that will ever be, since the Glin trees no longer produce fruit. We also don't see any visual signs of aging on the Supreme Kai like we do on Gowasu, so it's not entirely clear. I haven't mentioned Elder Kai in this video because he is an extenuating circumstance, but we do see clear signs of him aging since he is 15 generations older than our current Supreme Kai. However, that too is because of an extenuating circumstance. It is also very possible that the Grand Supreme Kai was just the most powerful Supreme Kai, so he was able to help to a much more in-depth extent with the Supreme Kai's studies. This idea is corroborated by the fact that it was not until the Grand Supreme Kai was absorbed by Majin Buu that Buu's very nature changed. We don't get an answer in the anime or the original manga from what I could find, but if you look into the Dragon Ball Super manga, we find out during the Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc that the Grand Supreme Kai used most of his physical/magical strength to contain the powerful warlock Moro. So that would mean that the Southern Supreme Kai is the more powerful one during the time that they fight Buu. This isn't to say that Grand Supreme Kai isn't still powerful as he was absorbed by Buu after Buu had absorbed the Southern Supreme Kai. If we take this piece of information into account, then we can say that it is not the Grand Supreme Kai's strength that has made him the perfect candidate for teaching other Supreme Kais, but most likely his strength of character, his knowledge of the job, and his wisdom due to his age. And the age is backed up quite well as the battle between Grand Supreme Kai and Moro took place more than 10 million years ago. So why does Universe 7 have 5 Supreme Kais at one point when other universes only have 1? Because 4 Supreme Kais were learning under the much older Grand Supreme Kai on how to do the job they would be doing in the next coming years. They were each assigned a quadrant in order to have less responsibility before being responsible for an entire universe. Now, if you like my theory, let me know what you think in the comments below. Who's your favorite Supreme Kai? Do any of them have names that people remember? What information would you take into account more? What we learn in the Galactic Prisoner arc of the Dragon Ball Super manga, or the newer Dragon Ball Daima? Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you have a good day and try to watch some Dragon Ball. And remember, if you're not toasted with toasted mushroom, you're just baked.